What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of The Three View. Today we are joined by Long Beach Sharks head coach Jeff Tory. How's your summer?
It's going well. It's going by busy and pretty fast, but it's been a great summer.
I know it's crazy. We're almost there. We're getting there real quick.
Yeah.
So obviously, things last year probably didn't go your way, but what do you think are some of the biggest turning points that you can, put into play for next season?
Yeah, I think obviously it was very evident. I think on the offensive side of the game, we needed to recruit and get much better depth there. Really, the last two seasons we've been kind of relying on maybe one and a half lines to produce offensively. So it's obviously the East Division, as you can see, is very competitive there and things like that. So I think we averaged right around 2 goals against four there last year, and that puts a lot of stress on your team defensively to be winning and winning consistently when you're only putting up those kind of numbers. So that's been an area of focus, is to try to address offensive, not only forwards but defensemen that can really move the puck and kind of help that transition game for us this year.
And when you look at last year's team, what do you think are some of the biggest lessons that you learned from that group?
Yeah. I mean, depth for sure, again, was a huge thing. I mean, injuries are definitely part of the game. We had our fair share. But I think, again, depth, throughout the lineup, like I addressed, obviously we want to upgrade our depth, especially on the offensive side there. But, I think we made a bit of a transition. This is our first full recruiting process, being the affiliation with the Oklahoma Warriors in the North American Hockey League. So we have made a bit of a shift in our strategy or our approach to the team. We've definitely gone with the younger players here. So we've tried to identify players that might not quite be ready for the Tier 2 North American Hockey League just yet. But we feel like they're on the path to get there, and our job as coaches to provide them good development and practice, but they'll get really good game repetition and experience with us by playing probably more minutes than maybe they would elsewhere with a bunch of maybe older players in front of them. So like I said, we went with younger players with our goal of trying to advance as many of them to the Tier 2 level as possible.
And like you touched on, you guys do have that affiliation with Oklahoma and the NA. And before we hopped on this call, you were talking about going to various Oklahoma camps throughout the summer. What lessons do you learn from their staff that you want to implement into your team for this upcoming year?
Yeah, anytime you go to these camps, again, as a player, I think you're always trying to develop and learn. As a coach, is the exact same thing. The more people you can talk to, the more ideas you can learn and kind of put into structure in your own program. I think is super valuable. So we're really lucky, or I'm very lucky, with between our owner George Chalos and Mick Berge, the coach in Oklahoma. We have a very close working relationship. We're all really on the very much on the same page there. So it starts with the compete and the character of the player. And then you branch out from there. Obviously, the skating ability, offensive abilities to make plays under pressure, but really kind of goes back to what they're looking for, and what we're looking for is good character kids, high compete level, and at our level especially, we wanted to find younger players that you're self motivated and goal oriented. Set those goals to try and get to Tier 2, and are willing to put in the work necessary to get there.
And when we look at your record from last season, you guys hung on in a lot of games. You had the most overtime losses amongst any team in the league. What does that say about the compete level from your group and how hard they worked, to get those extra points?
Yeah, no, I mean, again, despite our record there last year, I was really proud of the group. Nobody bailed on the team. Guys stuck with the entire season. I hate going back to it, but again, I think our depth, the guys would play as hard as they possibly can. We had some nights where we're playing with 14, 13 skaters just due to injuries. And like I said, they battled all the way there. But again, with no easy game there, sometimes late in the third period, or if we did get into overtime, we just didn't have quite the same energy left or ability to make a play. As the fatigue sat in and stuff like that. And again, really, it was pretty extreme, but kind of evident to the fact that the guys played really, really hard, and we're right there. But like I said, I think a little more depth and maybe a little bit more offense really could have flipped the script for us last year.
And you mentioned earlier how you're looking to keep your roster young so they have the ability to move up. Are there any players from last year's team that you're looking to step up for this upcoming year and kind of take on a leadership role and kind of drive home that you guys want to compete harder in those games and ultimately come out on top?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we only brought back 5 players. So one would be, unfortunately, Jay Montgomery had his season end in January. Speaking of injuries, but he hurt his knee, had to have surgery. But Jay was a really good player for us last year. He's coming back. He'll be our captain this upcoming season. So he's been rehabbing for 6 months. I know he's chomping at the bit to get back and get started there, but he'll definitely be a big leader and a really good puck mover, high compete level on the back end for us. So we're excited to have him healthy and back with the group this year. Alec Dalvang was a guy that played, in our top line all last year's in 07. Had a really good year, especially for an 07 being in that kind of role. And I saw him down at Oklahoma main camp there. He looks a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger. And again, just, really good offseason. So he's definitely putting in the work off the ice there. So he'll be, looked as a leader up in the front, and also, a guy that we're going to rely on to produce some offense there for us this upcoming season.
And the East Division, continues to evolve year after year. What are some areas that you see for growth within your own division?
Yeah, I mean, the junior hockey landscape is changing so much, so it's hard to kind of say. But I do think the one thing about our division that I can speak of just being in our division for a while now is, first, the level of play every single year continues to get better. I think the depth, from, like I said, we finished last place and we had, however many 1-goal losses and overtime losses. So, the compete level and each and every night, you got to bring your best to have the ability to win those games. But also, I think we have really strong, strong teams in our division there. 5 of the 6 obviously have NA affiliations, and then obviously Norwich has a really good thing going there. Norwich, Kevin does a good job. So I think we have strong teams, strong organizations there. And like I said, I think the word's really spreading, especially here in the Northeast, of just how good our league has gotten.
And when you bring in these new players for this upcoming year, your team was consistently making the playoffs in 22, 23. Is that something that you reference to your players, as a point of, we came from this spot where we were making the playoffs every year and we want to get back there, as kind of like a motivation tool?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's a combination for us. We wanted to, instill opportunity to win and make the playoffs. But the other piece of that is obviously player development, right? So, good practices, good game reps. So the combination of being a competitive and winning team, obviously the goal to make the playoffs there, but equally important is providing that opportunity. Players want to come in and have that opportunity where they're going to play, get better, gain some experience, and if they earn it, have that opportunity to move on. And like I said, with our affiliation here now, we can provide that for our guys.
And when you talk about that affiliation, how important is that for the players to see that you have that affiliation and there's opportunity for them, even if it's just a call up to go down for a weekend, get that experience in the NA, and then come back up to the 3HL?
Yeah, for us, and especially on the East, but here in Long Beach, it's been huge for us. Again, shifting to going with the younger players, having that next level that they want to try to aspire to. Like I said, if they play well and they have an opportunity to earn it, they now have an opportunity within our organization to move up to that level. Mason Jackson was our leading goal scorer last year. He went up for about 6 weeks. Played a handful of games and now signed a tender. And like I said, that was kind of a shift last year. We kind of had our team in place when we first made that affiliation, but this year we feel like we have a lot more guys that are can trend in that path. And of course, they have to do their part on the ice, and we have to do our part coaching them. But we feel like we have a really good group that's hungry and motivated to get that next level. And as a coach, that's all you can really ask for is come in and work with those guys each and every day, and they give their best every day. And again, I think we have some guys that. Certainly we could see get the opportunity to either go for a practice week or maybe even get for some games or affiliation players, or so many avenues that we have that affiliation now for them. So we're really excited about it.
All right. Well, thank you so much for hopping on this call today. It sounds like the future is looking bright in Long Beach, and good luck this upcoming year.
Thank you so much, Brittany.